Welcome to A Class of Angels, the series where we look at advanced writing techniques through the lens of a silly vampire show from the early aughts. My name is Michael Aguero, and today we're going to be looking at Season 1, Episode 3, In the Dark. So this is the Ring of Amara episode for those of you who have seen the show before. If you haven't seen the show, we're going to be glossing over a lot of the details of, scene by scene dialogue and all of that. So it really helps if you have seen the show. It is currently streaming on places like Hulu and Amazon Prime. Go ahead and check it out and then come back for the video. It'll really help you get the most out of it. So this is the Ring of Amara episode. This is probably an episode that people will remember. It tends to stick in the mind. And today we're going to be talking about some of the reasons it does that. So in the first episode in the series, we broke down the pilot scene by scene and looked at what the writers were trying to accomplish and how it used those scenes to do that. In the second episode in the series, we talked about the tone of the show and how the writers spent a lot of time thinking about how they could use the monster of the week and the setting for the episode to build towards those tonal goals. So now that we're in the third episode, we're not going to break it down scene by scene. We're just going to be talking about what the writers were attempting to accomplish and the tools they used to do that. So this episode opens with a blonde victim running through an alleyway. Angel shows up and saves the day. This is all box standard stuff that we as the audience have been led to expect by this point. So we then subvert that and pan up to the rooftops, and hey, it's our good friend Spike. Spike is a fan favorite. He is a recurring bad guy in the parent series Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and this marks his first appearance in this show. Spike spends that first scene expositing Angel's entire backstory, and he does so in a mocking manner. This is done for two reasons. One, we're still carrying forth that mantra of it's a pilot, it's a spin-off, so we're having Spike very quickly catch everybody up that Angel is a vampire, he's been cursed with a soul, and now he is trying to save people. Spike does it in a mocking manner to set up his character and his dynamic with Angel. We then jump to our first Cordy and Doyle scene of the episode. They spend the entire time catching us up on who their characters are and their dynamic with one another, and then hey, Oz shows up. Oz is also a fan favorite from the parent series, and this is the first time that he has shown up in the spinoff. He reveals the MacGuffin for the episode, the Ring of Amara. The Ring of Amara makes any vampire who wears it indestructible. Angel, our good guy, could use the ring for all sorts of awesome stuff. Spike, our bad guy, wants it so he can continue being a big bad. The rest of the episode is pretty standard. We get some fights between Angel and Spike. We get some scenes where Angel is tortured. We get some more fights. The bad guy is killed. Everybody walks away happy. So if this episode is just restating the it's a pilot, it's a spin-off mantra from the first two episodes, why is it so memorable? Well, that has to do with our monster of the week. The monster of the week is not Spike, and it's not the torturer guy we end up killing at the end of the episode. It's the Ring of Amara. The Ring of Amara showed up in an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There was some fights and back and forth over it, and now it is being given to Angel to hold on to for safekeeping. It would allow Angel to walk in the sunlight and live as a normal person, which is the thing he wants. In the first episode, we spent a lot of time setting up Angel's backstory and how the show was going to work. And we spent the second episode setting up the tone, but even though the show is called Angel and Angel is in virtually every scene, we didn't really set up what he wanted and what his character motivation was. It's common in these sort of superhero vigilante stories to focus on, well, the good guy does the good guy thing because he's the good guy. Superman's always going to swoop in and save the girl. Spider-Man's always going to stop the mugger because of Uncle Ben, but we sort of leave it at that. There's no goalpost at the end. Well, for our main character, Angel, there is an end goal. He is fighting for redemption. He spent many years being an evil guy, he got his soul back, and now he's all guilty, so he's trying to work off that conscious debt and somehow redeem himself. We're going to see that again towards the end of this season with this We're going to see that again towards the end of this series with the Shanshu prophecy. This episode is carrying forward those elements of it's a plot, it's a spinoff, but then using them to propel us forward in what this character is going to be. So in the last episode, we tried to look at the idea of reverse engineering an episode to learn what the writers were trying to do and how they went about it. So how can we use that same principle here? How can we look at this episode and try and think about what it was the writers were attempting to do? Well, I think this episode primarily was set up as a ratings pool. So in this era, it was very common for there to be commercials each week setting up the episode that was to air. So it was really useful if you were trying to pull viewers from one show to follow into a new show to give them reasons to tune in. The Ring of Amara was a MacGuffin in an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That episode wrapped up and Buffy sent it to LA to Angel. So if fans of Buffy the Vampire Slayer want to see the conclusion of that story, well, now they've got to tie into this new series. That's also why Spike and Oz are here. So long-term fans who may not give two craps about the Ring of Amara want to go, well, wait, Spike's in this episode? What's up with that? Maybe I want to see, Spike and Angel fight again. That kind of stuff. It gets them interested in seeing this next episode. So the writing in this episode tends to be a bit top-heavy. They're going to carry forth the pilot and spin-off elements. We have to set up the characters of Oz and Spike. We have to set up our bad guy. We have to set up the Ring of Amara. So a lot of this episode ends up being exposition dumps in various forms, but I think it ultimately ends up working and being sort of a memorable episode because it starts our character on his journey. He is being offered a fake redemption. He is having bait dangled in front of him of the life he wants, but ultimately turns away from it in a remarkable effort of self-sacrifice to state that he is doing this for real. He's not going to take the easy way out. He is not going to abandon the people that he is meant to save. He is on this road for real now. This is the first episode where we really start to hone in on his character and the type of person he is and wants to be. You will notice in the interrogation scene with our bad guy, the whole refrain during the interrogation is, "What do you want?" The writers have set that up intentionally because the entire episode is about what Angel wants. He's not going to take the easy way out here. He is on a long road to redemption, and more importantly, he knows it. All of this culminates in him destroying the ring at the end of the episode, even though it could be very beneficial for him because he knows it's not his real goal. We spend a lot of time as writers talking about character arcs in sort of a philosophical standpoint, but we rarely talk about how they work. A character arc needs to start with some kind of motivation for that character. If it's an ascending arc, generally that means their motivation is going to be to get better at something. If it is a descending arc, that means they want something, but they ain't going to get it, and their arc is probably going to take them farther and farther away from it. For this series, we have set up all of our characters and what their backstory is and their personality is, but we haven't really taken any time to set up what their motivations are. Cordelia wants to be an actress. That is her current motivation, but it's not her real motivation. It's not going to be it for long. That is all part of her arc. Doyle's motivation is purposely kept hidden from us and will not be revealed until later in the season. And Angel's motivation has been left pretty vague. All we know is that he was a big bad vampire who did a lot of evil things, and now he wants to be a good guy. Well, what does being a good guy mean? Doyle says in the... God, this damn floor. Doyle says in the first episode that Angel is supposed to be a champion for the powers that be, and that'll help him sort of balance his karmic book, but that doesn't really cost Angel anything. He was already running around saving people. Having Doyle be a messenger to sort of point him at the enemy doesn't really change our character any or help set him up any more than he already was. So enter the Ring of Amara. The Ring of Amara would give Angel what he wants. He could put it on and walk out in the sunlight and be a seemingly normal person. He could have a seemingly normal life with Buffy. Put a pin in that. We're going to get to that later in the season. But it isn't real. The Ring of Amara will make him invulnerable, but he's still going to be a vampire. People are still going to be in trouble. So our hero has to sacrifice something. He shows what he really wants at the end of the episode by destroying the ring and not taking the easy way out and dedicating himself to this longer road of redemption. Doyle specifically states at the end of the episode, hey man, this is what you wanted. And Angel says, no, it just looks like it. It's a fantastic line, and I really love that scene of him and Doyle watching the sunset together because it has finally set up who our character is internally. We have set up who he is externally, his backstory, what other characters know him as. We've set up the format of the show and we've set up the tone of the show, but now we finally get a glimpse as to who our big guy really is and what he is after. This episode could have very easily have been titled, What Do You Want? So as writers, what do we want? What are the lessons that we can take from this? From a sort of checklist standpoint, I think a lot of people would say that this isn't a well-written episode. If anything, it is serviceable. It spends a lot of time doing the sort of carpentry work of hammering in our backstory and our exposition and just sort of laying those bricks line by line to get to our endpoint. But it ends up being a memorable show because of what it means to our character, to our hero. And so we see again for the second time in this series how the writers took a box standard monster of the week, we just gotta fill in an episode here to use it for something long term. One of the things that drives me absolutely nuts about modern television is how little of the space they use. It has been incredibly common for at least the last 20 years where you have a season premiere that is awesome and does a ton of stuff. You have a mid-season finale and premiere that is awesome and does a ton of good stuff. And then you have a season finale that is there to culminate the season, to move character arcs along, to change the dynamics. But that middle space is almost always filler. Even in a serialized drama, your episodic dramas, and in your long-form stuff like, Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones, there is a metric crap ton of filler in there because they've got a lot of episodes to fill. Nowadays, you probably only see about 12 episodes in a season, but as we see from Angel, they were doing 22 episodes a season. That is a lot of pages to fill. So your worse shows, your less interesting shows, Just have a monster of the week that changes nothing. If you look at any legal drama or any crime drama on any network show, you will see exactly what I am talking about. I'm going to break down the structure for you real quick of every one of those shows, and once you see it, you're never going to be able to unsee it. We get an opening scene of about 2 minutes where our characters have a little bit of witty dialogue. They introduce the bad guy, whether it be a serial killer or the legal trial that is going to take up the rest of the episode. There is a string of scenes where they start working on that problem. They hone in on the bad guy or the thing that's going to win them the case. There's some sort of setback. In a crime drama, it is almost always that they have been following a red herring and their bad guy is actually someone else. We get some more investigating, some more little witty banter, and then they catch the bad guy. And then there is a little stinger at the end where we get some dialogue between our characters. And that is all that happens. It does nothing to further our characters' goals. It does nothing to further the goal of the series. It is just straight up filler. One of the things that I love about this show through all of its seasons, good and bad, is they always use that filler to try and propel something forward. You will notice in this episode that there is a ton of exposition and a ton of seemingly filler. The entire Cordelia and Doyle B-plot doesn't need to really be there. They just spend the entire time sort of restating things we already learned in the first 2 episodes. Spike and Oz don't even really need to be here. They're just here for those spin-off reasons. So when we look at this thing under a microscope, it almost looks bad. It looks like bad writing, but the episode sticks so well because they use those generic elements to firmly set up our character arc that we're going to be with through the rest of the series. They used this opportunity of what could have been another write-off, empty monster of the week that doesn't change anything, and used it to set up one of the most important aspects of the entire series. As writers, and as writers that have been at this a while, that's what we need to hone in on. We need to look at the opportunities, not just to further character, not just to set up world building, but making sure that even our filler, even our write-off scenes, even our just another adventure with the characters we know and love is being used to further all of those goals. It's not enough to just have Spike and Oz show up. It is not enough to just restate what was in the pilot and in the spin-off. We need to carry these elements forward so that the audience has a reason to really get attached to this show. And we do that in this episode by having Angel make an important sacrifice and show us, the audience, that he is dedicated to this path of redemption. So that is the episode. That is season 1, episode 3 in the darks, now in the books. As advanced writers, we need to sort of pay attention to all of these techniques. We talk a lot about character arcs in a philosophical sense, but we rarely take the time to look at how we start them and how we're going to carry them out through a show. Watching a series like this, episode by episode, and paying attention to those real things really helps us grab a hold of them and use them in our own writing. Thank you for watching. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so on Patreon or by buying my stories on Google Play. Every little bit helps the channel grow and become even better. Thank you for watching. We will be back in the next episode with season 1, episode 4. I'll see you then. All right, time to do this for real. Time to do this for real. Damn, this is a sweet ass part. Scene shows Angel saving a blonde victim in a valley. Damn it. It's the second time I've done that. Alright, that take was kind of a rambling disaster. Let's see if we can do better in this one.